Good morning, friends. Myself is Mrs. Poonam Valera, a lecturer in English department at Akadoshi Mahila College, Jamnagar. Today I am to discuss one of the great poems written by Lord Byron, and the title of the poem is She Walks in Beauty. Before delivering any lecture regarding this poem, I would like to say that the poet writes always in two ways: the one way or the one phase of life whenever he or she falls in love, and another event is the celebration of his or her sadness. The same thing can also be applied in reference of Lord Byron. Actually, the poet drew inspiration for the passionate poem from the events of life. We can say in this regard that the poet can't remain aloof from whatever was going through in his or her life, whatever is going through in his or her life. It means every incident, events also make a very beneficial effect on the psychology of any poet, and this effect results into a writing of poem. The same thing has also happened with Lord Byron. Actually, I would like to share somewhat about Lord Byron's life because it is quite linked with this poem also. Lord Byron's fame rests not only on his writings but also on his life. Actually, his life is featured extravagant living, numerous love affairs, debts, separations, allegations of incest, and sodomy. He was famously described by Lady Caroline Lamb as mad, bad, and dangerous to know. So, this gives us a proper glimpse regarding the psychology of Lord Byron and whatever the lifestyle of the Byron was. Byron served as the regional leader of Italy's revolutionary organization, the Cavalry, in its struggle against Australia, and later travelled to fight against the Turks and Greek War of Independence, for which the Greeks consider him a national hero. He died from a febrile illness in Mesolongi. So, actually, this is a brief background about Lord Byron. And She Walks in Beauty is a poem written in 1814 by Lord Byron. Actually, it was the first of several poems to be set to Jewish tunes from the synagogue by Agic, which was published as Hebrew Melodies in 1815. So far as today's poem is concerned, it is the most clean and fresh way to see love. It means to express his love. Even though the poem talks of a beautiful woman, we can also interpret as a simple way to rejoice beauty. Now I would display some word about Lord Byron. The full name George Gordon Byron. Actually, he was the first in all Byrons, and later on he was commonly considered as Lord Byron. He was an English poet and a leading figure in Romantic movement. Being one of the major part of Romantic movement, it can be quite natural that all the aspects of Romantic poetry are found its application in Byron's poems. Similarly, William Wordsworth, Coleridge were also indulging in the realm of Romantic movement. But So far as Byron's point of view to see the beauty is that it was somewhat different in comparison of Wordsworth and Coleridge. As we know, Wordsworth has written more and more about the nature. Wordsworth sees the beauty in nature, as in Solitary Reaper and in another poem also. But in majority of the poems, Byron has concentrated on a lady figure whenever he wants to deliver his ideas or express his notions and express his emotions. So every time his center point is the lady. In the same way, this poem is also about a lady. Actually, in this poem, Byron talks about how much he admires a woman. He is constantly telling us how beautiful she is from the inside and outside. It means in this poem, we will also get through or we will also go through the process whenever the poet Byron is going to describe the physical as well as inner aspect of a young lady, a very beautiful young lady. Apparently he is only trying to describe her. So it is possible to cast a glance upon physical and inner qualities of beauty. It means ultimate target of Byron is to reveal, is to express, is to describe the beauty in every sense. So here we should not mistake the word beauty, the word physical experience in the manner of sexuality only. It is somewhat more than the defined sexuality term and any other aspect. Now, I would also like to mention the name of major poems written by Lord Byron. Actually, all these poems' names are also suggestive that Byron was fond of love, beauty, then beautiful Quaker, and etc. That's why the same thing is also spoken by the titles of all this poem. The first one is The First Kiss of Love. So its title suggests that this poem is quite suggestive of physical element, physical beauty, etc. Another poem is Thoughts Suggested by a College Examination, written in 1806. Next one is To a Beautiful Quaker, then Latin Gay, then Epitaph to a Dog, then Maid of Athens, Irrevipart, and the more and more interesting poem is She Walks in Beauty, written in 1814. These are just some pictures regarding She Walks in Beauty. Actually, this poem was written at a time when Lord Byron was an influential writer. It means we can say that every poet is having his or her starting career. So far as Byron's starting career was there, he was indulging in the realm of light, he was indulging in the realm of love, he was indulging in the realm of a number of love affairs with more than 1,000 women. So this source, and we can say that this part of his life has also affected his writing. And with Byron's case, no doubt all these love affairs and etc. have become the topic for discussion for many contemporary writers, many critics of English literature and etc. But these aspects have given Byron name and fame because all these love affairs, all this kind of extravagant lifestyle has inspired him to write more and more about a different kind of topics. It has been said to be among Byron's most famous pieces so far as this poem is concerned. No doubt, Byron has written a number of poems regarding beauty, but She Walks in Beauty is somewhat different from another poem because it has got the mixtured, it has got some mingling aspects of both the kind of beauty, namely physical and inner beauty. We can also say that it is a poetic narrative. It means She Walks in Beauty is a poetic narrative describing the beauty and elegance of a woman who is the subject of the poem. Actually, I have heard or I have read it somewhat else that Byron has written this poem on Mrs. Walcott. Actually, Walcott was Byron's cousin, so it can be quite understandable in this view that Byron was always attracting towards women figure and etc. also. So one of the young ladies has become the subject of this poem, and this lady's beauty is being described by Byron in all the poem. Now the main thing, before starting to cast a glance upon all the stanzas of this poem, I would like to say that it is better for us to go through the stanza by stanza analysis before reciting the poem and before doing any critical discussion regarding this poem. Because if we know properly about stanza by stanza analysis, then we can get a proper and particular idea regarding the subject matter of this poem. So far as the total numbers of the stanzas are concerned, actually the poem is written in 3 different stanzas, and all these 3 stanzas are having 6 lines in each. It means total 18 lines will be there, and each stanza is a complete sentence. So whenever we are to read all these poems, and particularly She Walks in Beauty, so at that time we can also get enjoyed by the rhyming scheme and another lucid and simple and till some musical language used by Lord Byron. It is one of the peculiarity of Lord Byron that whenever he is to describe anything else, it means in this case whenever he is to describe the beauty of the lady, so his narrative becomes so much impressive that we can visualize before our eyes the whole lady figure or whole body of lady figure whom Byron is going to discuss in another stanzas also. So far the first stanza is discussed. We can say that the first stanza describes her physical aspect. It means Byron has got the glimpse of a lady, and at the very first sight he becomes attracted to that lady. So this first stanza describes the physical aspect of the lady, especially her face. The second stanza describes the whole person, her appearance. Here the word whole I have used. Whole person, it means not only physical aspects. Sometimes what happened, Byron has written the word eye. So here eye is not to be taken as a portion of our body. Actually we can say that eye may be one kind of window to peep into the soul of this very lady. Similarly, her appearance is also quite visible in this poem. She is so beautiful, nearly perfect. Here the word nearly perfect is also quite important. Being a human being, no man and woman can be almost perfect. But this lady is so beautiful lady that Byron has said that she is nearly perfect, but she does not carry the absolute perfection because she is a human being. It means being a human being, once her beauty will be also lost, whenever old age will be also confronting before her. At that time her body will not be habitable in this sense, because she will be the victim of inevitable death also. That's why Byron has used a proper term, said that she is beautiful but not perfectly beautiful, she is nearly perfect. Now about the glimpse of third stanza. Actually the third stanza talks about the beauty of her personality. Actually her beauty has made some bewitching effect on Lord Byron, and this effect has inspired the poet to write this poem. So her personality is such an impressive personality that that lady is adequate enough to make her very good kind of and magnificent impression on the poet's eyes and mind, and as a result the poet has written this poem. So this was all about the three stanzas idea in brief also, and now I will just recite the first stanza, because this poem is such a kind of poem written by Byron that if we are to recite in proper sense or in true sense, then and then only it will automatically opens itself before our psyche, before our mindset, because music is such kind of melody which enlightens our soul, which gives us a new and new idea, which gives us some more and more interpretation, if we will be able to involve in its pure sense. So it's quite necessary for us to enjoy this poem by recitation also. She walks in beauty like the night of cloudless climes and starry skies, and all that's best of dark and bright, meeting her aspect and her eyes, this melody to that tender light which heaven to God denies. So this is about the rhyme of first stanza. Whenever we are to listen this poem, it means whenever we are to recite this poem, at that time we can get a proper idea about every kind of intonation, every kind of tone, particular usage of word used by Byron, because all these are very important features in any poem to give all the readers a perfect idea and make all the readers able to visualize the whole description before their eyes. That's why it can be said that whenever Byron is describing any lady, at that time we are feeling that that lady is standing before our eyes. This about the second stanza, a very chosen word. One said the more, one read the less. One said the more, one read the less, had half impaired the nameless grace, which vows in every reverent tress or softly lightens all her face, where thoughts serenely swept express how pure, how dear their dwelling space. Here, dwelling place is a word. Actually, it is suggestive of physical beauty, but the same is also going through in this third stanza also. And on that cheek and all that brow, so soft, so calm, yet eloquent, the smiles that win, the tints that glow, but tell of the dash in goodness span, a mind at peace with all below, a heart whose love is innocent. So this is about the recitation of poetry. So whenever we are to evaluate this poem or we are to write down anything about this poem, at that time we have to refer about all this intonations, selection of words and etc., because it will give a true sense of any evaluation process. Now I would like to share something about overall tone of the poem, and then I will discuss every stanza in detail by taking the selected words and taking some couplets and some figure of speech and etc. So far as oral tone of the poem is concerned, we can say that it's quite soft, calm and quite different with the image we have about Lord Byron. Majority it is believed that Byron was indulging with a number of love affairs, but it doesn't mean that Byron is not a person belonging from the quality life. Actually, this poem is the suggestive of the point that this poem is indicative of the point that Byron has really loved that lady, Byron has really attracted towards that lady, and that attraction doesn't mind either it is physical attraction or it is inner qualities, but here we can find the intermingling aspects in both kind of attractions in the case of Lord Byron. Whenever any poet writes any poetry, so at that time he or she is not very careful about that which kind of things I have to involve or have to reveal in this poem, actually to derive the particular idea about all these themes is the part of the very mental labor for the students. It is one of the duties of the critical appreciation, one of the duties of the critics and other readers also. So poet is not directly telling us that I am to apply this theme of appearance, beauty and supernaturalism in this poem. Actually, it must be our understanding that which themes are invisible, or we can say which themes are visible also. Sometimes what happen in, if we are to read any poem, at that time it is having two kind of messages into it. One is just going on superficial level and another is going on in its inner aspects. It means some thoughts or some words are used in such a way that they give us the glimpse of connotative aspect only. But so far as Byron's style is concerned, it gives us more and more connotative meaning in every word used by him in this particular poem. So as a result, the three themes are visible, and it may be possible Suppose I have mentioned these three themes, as for example, that theme of appearance, theme of beauty, supernaturalism, etc. So another fellow will evaluate this poem. He or she may take out another theme also, because poetry is one kind of holiday of mind. In this regard, I want to share that it is spontaneous overflow is there. Whatever comes from poet's heart goes directly to the reader without interference of anything. It means everybody's psyche is responsible for whatever interpretation of the poem is to be done. Now, first of all, I would like to share brief about poetic devices, and when I will just explain all the stanzas in detail, at that time I will again elaborate about all these poetic devices in detail. This is only about to know what are the poetic devices used here. First device is about personification. So far as personification is concerned, actually it is called extended metaphor, and Lord Byron was master to use this kind of personification in most of his poems. So far as this poem Sebastian Beauty is concerned, Byron has used three type of words, or we can say that three type of phrases to reveal the personification. First one is smiles that win. As we know that smile is not a human figure, but here is a personification. So we can say that Byron is quite right whenever he writes that smiles that win. Another personification is used in the phrase heart pulls love is innocent, and at the third part is tender light. This word is also suggestive of a poetic device named personification. This is about similes. It means the poet has compared that lady sometimes with light, sometimes with night also. So far as that lady's grace, the grace of beauty is concerned, her style of walking, varying walking is also concerned. The poet has titled all this using a different similes to make his poem very impressive, and then only we are able to enjoy its visual aspects before us. And to create this kind of audiovisual aspect is Byron's mastery as a writer of romantic age. The first simile is like the night. It means the poet has compared that lady with the night. Nameless grace is another simile used by Byron, which waves in every raven trees. Whenever I will make all of you understand the stanza in detail, at that time I will also explain about all these similes. Here I want to talk in short about all this, that raven trees is a word or is a simile used to compare lady's hair. The poet compares grace, that is quality of woman, to an observable phenomenon, raven trees. It means we can say that totality of sexuality or totality of sexual organs are also giving us a visible expressions in these poems. So it was quite necessary for Byron to use this kind of simile to make the readers more and more aware about the beautiful aspects of this lady. And all these similes make the portrayal more and more clear. If Byron would not have used such kind of similes, then it was not possible for us to get a proper idea about the magnificent and bewitching beauty of that young lady to whom Byron was attracted, and as a result, this poem was written by him. Alliteration is also considered as a prominent feature because if alliteration is not there, then we cannot enjoy the recitation of any poetry. If true recitation is there, if enjoyable recitation is there, and if proper alliteration is used, then and then only poetry automatically starts to open before our mind. In the same manner, the four examples of alliterations are here. First one is cloudless climes. Here C and C, it means both the words starts with C. That's why alliteration is there. Starry skies, dead in ice, and serenely sweet. The last word serenely sweet is used for her character also. Now about the form and matter. I have displayed all this in this way because then and then only everyone can get a proper idea about the evaluation of this poem. So whenever we are to evaluate this poem, at that time it is our duty to mention all these different features in the evaluation process. Poem carries on A-B pattern all throughout the poem, making the poet organized as the harmonious woman. Each line is composed of an iambic. So this form has been very successfully justified by Lord Byron till the very last line of the poem. I want to share here that so far as the rhyming scheme selected by Byron is concerned, it's quite simple because through the simple rhyme only, Byron succeeds in create a soft atmosphere. It means here atmosphere means the nature of woman, setting of the poem and the main subject of the poem. Also, the repetition of unstressed stress words gives us a soft sleeping rhythm. If unstress and stress are not properly selected by any poet, then it's quite hard to recite that poem. It's also quite hard to enjoy that poem because sometimes what happens, it doesn't matter that blank verse and any other are different forms in which more and more rules of rhyme are not followed. It means blank words only meters are just followed. But so far as any poem of rhyming scheme is concerned, we should understand that the rhyming scheme must be simple, must be lucid also and attractive also. Then and then only we can enjoy the poem in a true sense. She Walks in Beauty is such a poem that in it the poet has described first two lines in such a pleasant manner that woman walks in her dress, it gives a walking, or we can say that wailing like rhythm of flow to the oral poem. It means whenever we are to read that the lady is just walking in the night when the sky is full of stars and etc. So if proper rhyme scheme is not used by the poet, then it was not possible for us to get the clear visualization of the lady. Now I would like to discuss every stanza in detail, taking the selected phrase, and then I would like to discuss it critically also. Now, so far as stanza by stanza discussion in detail is concerned, first of all, I would discuss about first stanza, which actually describes the physical appearance of the woman. Byron starts the poem with the phrase, "She walks in beauty." Here I want to discuss that here the word walks is not only suggestive of walking in varying manner. If we are to take only superficial idea of this, then we can say that she is walking in such an impressive style that attracts our Lord Byron, and after being attracted, her heart has ordered her to write this poem. But here it is quite necessary to understand that the word walks is also suggestive of living the life, and living the life in the realm of a particular light of beauty. So it can be said that she walks in beauty is a very opening message for us, which gives us the glimpse that in rest of the poem the poet is to discuss more and more about the beauty in a true sense. At the initial stage we find these words, "She walks in beauty like the night of cloudless climes and starry skies." Here the poet creates the images of dark, clear sky with twinkling star, etc. So I want to discuss here that no doubt the sky is full of stars, but cloudless climes. It means the atmosphere is so clear that there are no clouds. It means a true color of night, or we can say the true glory of light, is visible when there is no another disturbing factors like clouds. Similarly, here the same thing can be also applied in the reference of this young lady who is walking in a different manners in the realm of her journey towards the light. The same thing is applicable to this lady in that reference, that as the beauty of night is visible when there are no clouds in the sky, in the same manner the true beauty of woman is visible to his lord, to his master, to his man. Or we can say that visible beauty of woman is quite visible to her man, to her lord, whenever there is night, because night time is the time for any happy couple, any union, to get the satisfaction by physical intercourse. So this is also core idea by Byron revealed in these lines. So far as contrast is there, here twinkling stars are there, stars are bright, and the sky is black. So brightness is important whenever there is background of darkness is there. That's why God has also created the same kind of mechanism. If there are happy days, if there are bright days, so it's quite natural for all the human beings to take the experience of night, it means the dark days, and etc. But this is somewhat different in the case of Byron whenever he was to describe the physical aspect, especially the face of this lady. Twinkling stars may be also applicable to the blinking eyes of lady, because she is walking at the night time, but her eyes, the glory of her eyes is such magnificent that it is seen as twinkling stars. In this matter, or we can say that in this manner Byron has created some contrast through using diverse things such as black hair and white skin or deep black eyes that are clear. This is also comparable that whenever we see any moon in the dark sky, or we can say that at dark night, at that time the real glory of moon can be experienced by us. But when there are more and more clouds, at that time the glory will be disturbed. In the same manner, woman's glory is quite visible whenever her hairs are falling on her face. And this is also somewhat about the woman has worn a black dress. Black dress will spark also, and it will give somewhat additional effect to her white skin. And the main important thing is the word and all that is best of dark and bright meet in her aspect and her eyes. I would like to discuss especially these two words, her aspect and her eyes. As I told you that Byron has created contrast, her opposing elements have been used by her. Her aspect is suggestive of her soul and her eyes are suggestive of physical beauty. It means Byron has used the external source to peep into her soul. It means this lady's beautiful eyes are the only medium through which we can understand or we can get the glimpse of her pristine, pure and pious soul. That's why the phrase used by Byron, meet in her aspect and her eyes, has been successfully justified in this manner. Now the word mellowed and tender light. This is also somewhat this is also regarding some contrast and any other aspects also. Tender light, it means her beauty is so tender or that lady is so tender, and night is also there and her raven trees like hair is falling. So in that sense tender light's appearance and etc. is quite visible. And the most striking expression is through the gaudy day. Gaudy day, it means the day without test. But the glory of this lady has experienced the poet in such a manner that poet has forgotten everything. We can also say that in past this lady was indulging in a great kind of light, in great kind of pleasure, but now she has become self-conscious about this gaudy day. It means in present she is feeling somewhat melancholic aspect of her life. She is walking with a little smile on her face, or we can say that her lips stretched very little one. It means there is some melancholic portion hidden in her heart. So gaudy day is also suggestive this type of melancholic aspects of her nature. It means here the poet has given us the expression of her soul as well as her physical beauty, especially her face. And the word meet is also quite suggestive. It means her inner soul is possible to express by the poet whenever this woman sees anyone or anything else through her eyes. Her eyes is like speaking pictures also. So the poet wants to reveal that every kind of beautiful aspects have found intermingled in this beauty of the lady. Now I would like to discuss the second stanza in the same manner by taking different words and discuss about all this. Actually, in first stanza, I told how the poet was to express the appearance. The same expression is also remains continue whenever we are to discuss about the second stanza. But it is somewhat different whenever we are to read some starting like this. Actually, at the very starting stage of second stanza, the poet is to express the external beauty onto the woman's personality in the phrase head half impaired, the nameless grass. This half impaired word is quite suggestive for the lady. It means whatever the beauty is endowed by that lady, but her beauty completes itself only when there is her man in front of her to see her, to admire her and everything. It means here Byron is also suggestive of the physical intercourse. If two people are in love, and they can't get the chance of physical intercourse, then how it can be said, according to Byron, that they are a perfect couple? In that reference, half-paired beauty word is used in that source. So woman's beauty is completed only when she gets connected with her master. Now I would like to discuss the another portion of it also through some selected verse. Another word is like greatly balanced. Greatly balanced is word that this lady is physically beautiful, and not only physically, she is also beautiful in her soul also, because she has kept her beauty in a pristine and pure manner. It means she has not been seduced till now by anybody else's. That's why her beauty is quite pure, quite pristine. And another word, dwelling place. Dwelling place is one kind of word. Actually, it is used to just give the expression for the vaginal aspect, and we can say that vaginal area of any woman or any genital organ of any man. It means woman becomes more perfect as she possesses beauty inside out. But this is only possible throughout the physical intercourse with her husband or with her lover and etc. else. Now I would discuss in the same manner the last stanza of the word, taking the word minded, place and etc. Because minded, place and etc. is the more important phrases used by Lord Byron. So in last stanza the same effect is also going through. In last stanza her cheeks and smiles are also expressed or are described by Byron. It means the last stanza gives us the glimpse about the inner satisfaction which is quite visible on that lady on the very next morning, of her physical intercourse with her man. So this gives us the glimpse of a proper kind of satisfaction on her face, which is quite visible on her cheeks, and this adds something to the glory of that lady also. Thank you.